Hi everyone, Lindsay Murdoch here, coming to you with tip number 4 in the series of Holiday Help, Surviving the Holidays for Sensitive People. Last tip was connected with food, avoiding getting hungry, too hungry because of the impact on our mood as sensitive people. This one is also connected with food and more connected to the types of food. One of the most helpful analogies that I've come across to think of ourselves as is to think of ourselves as a highly sophisticated piece of machinery. We are aware of so much more, we're processing more. It's helpful to think of it as a multifunctioning, very sophisticated piece of machinery. Our bodies, that is. And if you think about a highly sophisticated piece of machinery, you don't just put anything in and expect it to work at its best. So you don't put, any kind of gasoline in a Lamborghini and expect it to perform at optimum levels. You don't run just any kind of electrical current into a computer and expect it to perform well. You don't expose a piece of electronics, your Blu-ray player, to just any kind of environment. You don't leave it out in the rain and expect it to do well. Same deal with our systems as sensitive people. I mean, everybody doesn't do well with wild fluctuations in environment, but we tend to get out of whack a little bit more quickly when our environment is off. And so there's many environments that we surround ourselves with on a daily basis. Our thoughts are a huge one, and I'm probably going to do a series of videos on that at some point in the future. So our mental energy, but also what we're putting into our body, because we're doing that all the time, hopefully 3 times a day at a minimum. For optimum functioning, I would suggest more than that, eating regularly throughout the day. So the quality of what we're putting in our body matters. Hopefully whole foods are a good part of a sensitive person's diet, limiting things like sugars and chemicals, food additives like MSG, aspartame, food dyes, as I said already, sugar. Those things tend to have a negative impact on how well we function, particularly sensitive people. Just like that that highly sophisticated piece of machinery, those additives are kind of like junk in the system. So when we're out at holiday events, sometimes it's not possible to completely avoid things like that. If you know it's going to be at a place where, what's being served is going to be highly processed, certainly you could plan ahead and eat something so that you're limiting your exposure to those types of things. But then the other flip side to that is that if you can't control it, or you notice that maybe you had a little bit more of these things in your body than you thought you might, is to be really, really gentle with yourself as you process them out. Just be really kind to yourself. Rest if you need to. Drink extra fluids. Do whatever you need to do to care for yourself if it so happens that you get out of whack. And also recognize that if you're feeling really off the next day, maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it's the additives in the food. In our family, it's really easy to tell when our son has had artificial food coloring, because he has an emotional meltdown. It used to be within 10 minutes of having it. As he's progressed in age, he can sort of hold it off for a certain amount of time, but at some point in the next 12 hours, he's going to have some kind of meltdown, because it throws his system out of whack, and he can only cope with that step outside of his optimum parameter for so long, and then It just comes out in the wash. So, tips today are avoid chemical additives and processed foods wherever you can this holiday season. It will help you keep functioning in a more optimal manner. And if you can't avoid them and you do find that they are impacting your system, just be really, really gentle with yourself, care for yourself, give yourself that extra TLC to come back online. If you put suboptimal gasoline in your Lamborghini and it's not functioning well, you don't give it a kick in the bumper and expect it to come back online. You do what you need to do. You care for it. You take it to the special auto mechanic and help get them to tune it back up. Same deal with you. So care for yourselves, lots and lots of self-care, and enjoy yourselves.